ahead and call this meeting to order. Thanks everyone for being here, and well done on staying dry. Smart bunch. Okay, so let's go ahead and get things kicked off with a review of the minutes. So the minutes from the May meeting, which was the last time we met, have been distributed and read. Are there any corrections for the minutes?
Nope.
Okay, great. So I motion to approve the minutes. Can I get a second, please? All right, so all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed, say nay. All right, the minutes are approved. Thanks all. Holly, can you please take us through a quick run of the current financials?
Yes, oh, thanks. I'm gonna let Chaz hold on. Thank you, Chaz.
Chaz, amazing shirt.
All right, great. All right, we finally spent some money. Woo! Okay, so we started out with just over $105,000 to spend on grants this year. As part of our arts project cycle, we got rid of 49,140 of it. That is a combination of funds that are allocated to us by council through the general fund, and that is also through funds allocated to us by the Bloomington Urban Enterprise Associations. Yay! That means for the next 2 cycles, we have $56,709 left to spend. No pressure, Elliot, no pressure. Bloomington Arts Grants Subcommittee meeting for 4 hours tomorrow to discuss operation grants. So that's where we are on grants. We're holding steady with our emerging artist professional development workshop opportunities. Hopefully gonna try to do something with that in the fall. And then also with that $16,500 for public art and grants. You're gonna see that coming down soon. Our plan is, as part of the presentation we're gonna give to council on September 13th, we're gonna roll out the public art master plan. That is, Bryony is in the final stages of helping it look like a pretty document now. And as part of that, we're going to be rolling out 10 $1,000 micro grants to incentivize folks to actually do something in reaction to the plan. And then we've got those good old operating funds of just under $3,500. And again, that's so we can do things like go to social canteen together and eat chips, but not drink alcohol on the city's dime. Happy to answer any questions you have. Sorry. If only.
Okay, great. Any questions or comments on the financials?
What do you mean by micro grants in reaction to the plan?
Reaction is not the right word. What I mean is, we are hoping that if we say, hey, see something inspiring in this plan that makes you think about something you want to do in your neighborhood, why don't you fill out this quick and dirty Google form for up to $1,000 to make that thing happen. So this is block parties, this is a concert in the park around the corner from your house. Do you want to do a community mural? If you can find a wall, here's $1,000 to at least start the project. That's the idea behind those.
Reaction is
Yeah.
yeah.
It just has some connotations.
It does.
Yeah.
Yes, Beth?
I just have one question. How much money are we giving out in total for this next grant cycle for operating?
We have not determined that. We're determining it based on the conversation we have tomorrow. So we don't have a specific cap, just not all of it, obviously.
Yeah, as a note from last year, we gave around $30K. I think we'll probably have to go a little bit less because I think we're imagining a pretty big pool of emerging artists in that cycle. But yeah, if I had to take a guess, I'd say somewhere in the 20 to 30K range.
Yeah, that sounds about
Good
right.
guess.
Okay. Back to you, Holly, for the staff update.
Yo. There are a lot of changes in administration at the city currently. Several folks have left. We have a new deputy mayor, Larry Allen. He was previously in the legal department. He's lovely to work with. I'm really happy to have him on board as our deputy mayor for hopefully the rest of the term. It's exciting to be able to work with him both in his capacity as a liaison to the mayor's office, but he'll also be helping ESD and at least one other person in the legal department do the transition to continue to help us with our contracts. So very excited about that. He'll also be a great advocate for things like Hopewell. He's really at the table for those conversations as well. We also have a new director of communications, and that is Angela Van Roy, who's from the Housing and Neighborhood Development Department. She is, and she will continue to do that job as well. Her job before also taking on this communications position was also, she is responsible for releasing those community betterment grants. So these are grants that have gone out to the community. So if somebody wants to build a bench in the parkway or do something like that, they can apply for this. A couple of years ago, the Near West neighborhood applied for a grant to do murals on their roundabouts as part of that project. So sometimes there is some overlap between that and arts. So that's really exciting. Also, Crystal Ritter, who is in our parks department and who runs a lot of the summer outdoor concert series, is also now our director of community engagement. So that's kind of like, that's the role of branding around big developments like Hopewell and things like that. That's just helping to get the message out about big projects. And ESD's fearless leader, Alex Crowley, also has left the city. He has taken on a new role directing a green bank that's based in Indianapolis. And with his departure, I am also taking on his role as interim director. So basically thank you. You just ask yourself in a month whether you still want to clap or throw tomatoes at me. While I will not be taking on all of the tremendous work that Alex did, it would just be impossible. I will be doing more of his administrative duties. It's actually a nice thing. I will have a seat at the table about the Hopewell conversation. I'll also have more involvement in the trades district thing. It's in many ways, it's really exciting to be able to continue to work with all colleagues in our department to just think about how we can bring a better, more just kind of aligned and overlapping vision of what our department wants going into 2024. Several other members of the department who aren't as arts focused as Chaz and me are also very interested in infusing arts in their practices around sustainability and small business. So I really see this as an opportunity for us all to begin working together and present a holistic plan in 24 to the new administration. I'm excited about that. I will still be assistant director for the arts, so I will still be doing arts projects. Chaz is basically going to be full-time arts, at least until the end of the year, and we're going to see if that's something we can maybe keep going in 24. She's also going to be taking on some additional arts roles, and I'm really excited to work with her on that as well. That's where we're going. I'm asking people just to take bets on when I go completely gray. So throw your hat in the ring. It's here. But I'm still very excited to advocate for the commission and for all things arts in the community. That remains my top priority. So there you go. So that's that. And then I think we're gonna. I also want to share. So up into this point and all this changeover, so there are two different types of appointments to the Bloomington Arts Commission. There is either a council appointment, and that's where members of council at the beginning of every year look through applications, interview folks, and appoint them to the committee. And then there are mayoral appointments, and that's basically if somebody who was previously in a mayoral seat cycles off, someone from the mayor's office would be like, okay, let's look at these applications, appoint this person. There's no interview process. As far as I understand, there is a phone call, and then it's done. And then maybe you get a letter, maybe with the right date. Save this public good. Mayor's office. So those duties are now going to be transferred to the legal department. So the legal department will be the department overseeing the mayoral appointed seats. So we have a very amazing and full commission like this. So I don't see this necessarily affecting us until the beginning of 24. There will be a few terms that expire at the end of January 24. So there might be a little work with the legal department at the end of the year, just preparing to do that transition with new folks we've tagged that we'd like to join, but this isn't going to affect us immediately. And we will still have as much feedback to who they are appointing as we had in the past. And then I think Gerard is going to talk about this a little later in the meeting, but also to share, we are on the schedule to give a presentation to the council at the beginning of their meeting on Wednesday, September 13th. So, yay, fun. That's what I've got.
Yeah.
When you said legal is handling these appointments, they're handling like the administration of the appointments? They're not, legal is not like selecting people.
Yes, no,
Right,
okay. It's like, it's more of a negotiation, but they are basically the ones who are just overseeing the entire process.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Yeah. Any other questions or comments on that? All right, great. All right, for agenda item number 4, I'm happy to introduce a guest from the public today. Nick Kappas is sitting over there. He sits on the BCT or Busker Chumley Theater board and is, I think, the chair of their strategic planning subcommittee. And is seeking feedback from various sort of like boards and commissions and groups around town as they're making their strategic plan. And so, yeah, he's presented the commission with a couple questions, and which are presented in the agenda. But I will go ahead and turn it over to Nick to make a short statement, and then we can, discuss and go over these questions and touch on anything else that's come since.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity to speak today. We are absolutely excited to turn over a new leaf at the BCT. We just celebrated our Neon Jubilee, our 100 years, and now we're looking at the next century, and we're starting with a 3-year aggressive strategic plan. And one of the things that we really want to do is get community input, especially this group's, in a lot of it, to make sure that we are actively being a part of the community and not being just another vessel, right? We want to be involved. And so the 3 questions we are posing to this group to help shape our strategic plan are: what are you working on over the next 3 to 5 years? How can the BCT advance your commission's work? And then what advice, suggestions do you have? Each one we could probably we could sit here and talk forever on. But realistically, we want to pare down, what does the BAC, what do you really want to do with the BCT? I'm sure there's a lot of ideas at one point or another that Busker Chumley could have been utilized. I think Busker Chumley is being underutilized very much as a hub in this town. It very much just seems like a vessel of coming in and out. We want to be proactive, not reactive. So that's why I'm here to get, 12 different opinions on this.
So go ahead and open it up for feedback, and we'll just sort of have an open, free discussion. I might sort of direct things toward specific questions as we're going along to make sure we address each one, but we can kind of keep things kind of free and open. That's all right.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I don't know if you all know, we actually just hired a new executive director. They start in 2 weeks. He comes with a lot of experience. He is currently the assistant director up at Deer Creek. He was Wilco and Modest Mouse tour manager before that, and a series of other, things in the industry. he's got a lot to learn when it comes to nonprofit work, but that's why we're here and willing to help him. But I think that we're turning a new leaf in terms of management at BCT as well. So I'll throw that out there.
I have an idea, like get more like local music in the BCT. Like maybe we could do like some kind of like local music festival thing, like just like local artists only, and just like have it be like, I don't know. I'm thinking like maybe something like at like a good, like we coordinate so it's not like interfering with other big shows in town. Like make sure it's like its own thing, because that's always kind of like there's so many festivals and stuff in Bloomington that it's like jamming another one in there would be hard. But I think that like it would be like really like, I think that would be a really big step, because I feel like that's the only thing really missing from BCT. I mean, it's like great programming, but there's not really local music so much.
Okay.
Unless it's like an opener for like a touring artist or like something like that. But still, that's still like a very select few people I feel like actually end up.
My suggestion would be not a festival, but a showcase or something.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Because I feel
Like,
like festivals overused. And
Yeah,
don't wanna-
yeah.
But I love that idea.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
second Mia's idea.
Yeah, one comment I might just add to that is like knowing some like independent promoters in town. You know, I think one challenge always with the BCT is understandable, you know, but obviously with Union Crew and the size of the space, there's like a fairly high floor for cost.
Yeah.
And so for, you know, for independent promoters, it's a big risk to do something. And so what we're talking about here would almost need to be BCT led.
Right, exactly.
Or underwritten for it to be
Right.
sustainable.
Right, so we do have BCT Presents, right, where we do have shows that, you know, just frankly speaking, those are core to our mission type of events where we want to promote these kind of things where they're not necessarily, I mean, it's a risk on all parts, right? We're taking a risk, independent promoters are taking a risk, and that is where that beauty lies, right? So, great input on that. It's not the first time we've heard about the high floor, you know. It is half union, half not, right? So it does make it a little not artificially inflated, but it is inflated a little bit because of that. But no, great feedback on that.
To second this next point, yeah, it is extraordinarily expensive for local organizations, presenting organizations. It's one night pretty much eats up an entire venue budget for a year for many of the smaller organizations. So that, I think that's why you don't see local groups there, and you don't, because it's just not affordable, whether it's popular music or across the board. That's tough. On the positive side, I heard about, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about, there's it's kind of an internship or something for high school kids interested in theater, et cetera. That just sounded amazing. I heard about it briefly at the Psi Iota grant presentation, and I really would like to hear more about that, because that seems like a great interaction with the community and fostering kids' interest.
Absolutely. So what's one of the things that, you know, especially our technical career, they wanted to get back to teaching a lot of, you know, there are kids in our community that are interested, not just to be performers, but the people that are actually behind the scenes, right? So they hosted a couple of summer camps on what it's like to do the lighting, what it's like to do the backstage work, what it's like to do the setup, tear down, loading, unloading, and then all safety aspects, and then just the technical side in the booth, right? So it was a full week of on-hands learning. And I happened to be there on one of the days, and it was 20 kids. And that was just half of it. There was a second crew coming over, 20 more. So this is that, it was partnered through, I think, a grant opportunity or some other programming, but something that we're going to continue to do. And actually, one of the things that I want us to see do is get back involved. Same thing with our new executive director, Steve, get more involved with K through 12. How can we get more kids who do not see BCT or have not had the opportunity to see a theater like BCT come in, see it all, get experience, have a first show. You know, my oldest kid's first movie was there this summer. You know what I mean? So that is a new core memory for my family and I, and that's just one of many that BCT has that we think that with BAC's, you know, these suggestions and whatever you're doing over the next 3 to 5 years can be a lot of firsts for other people as well.
You partner with Stages, Bloomington?
You know, I'm not sure. I'm
I'd
not
look
sure.
into that, yeah.
To that end, I'll just mention that WFHB recently hired a new youth radio director as they've rebooted their youth radio program that a couple years ago was housed under Rhinos and then sat vacant for a little bit. But that might be a good local partnership, even if it's just a matter of, you know, how to find the kids that'll be interested in it, and
Okay.
you know, maybe an exchange of different sort of technical experiences.
That's very powerful work that you're doing. Exposing young people to live performance, live theater, live art, which is, you know, box office is diminishing across the country, and there's a commitment that you seem to be already making to help grow future audiences, create awarenesses, and I'm not sure how we can tie into that, but you know, I think we need to do the same thing as well. And so one can see possibilities, not only of being a patron in your future, but also maybe a direction that you'd like your career to move in. So,
Absolutely. So I think, you know, BCT in itself is, and Holly knows that she sits on our board as an ex officioso member, and one of the things being a city asset run by a nonprofit, managed by a nonprofit, it creates this very unique quasi-government, quasi-nonprofit relationship that honestly is very, sometimes hard to navigate, but because of that, it forces our hand even more so to be extremely engaged, right? And be involved with the community. And that's, if you ask any one of our directors or even, you know, part-time staff, that is one of the biggest things. They want to be a front door for the community to enter and feel like it's a safe, inclusive space. And that's why we're going to all the different commissions to find out how can we partner best. So if there's ever any opportunities, like I know you guys are doing a lot of, you know, public art and you know, grants and things like that. If there's ever opportunities where people are looking for spaces to promote themselves, always consider BCT. We can always try and work something out.
great offer.
I have a question.
Sure.
So I work in ESD with Holly. I do arts, but I also do like some other business stuff. I do this artist party where we pick a venue around town and we invite artists and business people to like be in the same room together. It's mostly for artists to kind of support them. Would the BCT be like a partner in that, where for a couple hours one night we have it as a venue where it's open, where folks can learn about the BCT and also get like artists through there, and it's a really good event to like make connections. So
Right.
anyway, is that something you're interested in? I just wanted to throw that out there because I'm gonna forget to ask if I don't ask now.
Well, unfortunately, I am not the end-all, be-all, you know, vote here, so
Okay,
I'll have to.
yeah,
this
is that,
is
like,
this is all going to this is all in Google Doc where the whole board is able to view. And actually, we have a meeting tomorrow, which I'm updating them on this whole process. So this is I will be talking to everyone about tonight, right? And you know, one of the things that on our strategic plan that we want to do for program is experimentation, right? So what can we do that is different than what we've done in the past to kind of bring in new audiences? And this is, you know, that could be something that does that, right? Bringing a new audience through the artist party. So thanks for putting this warm over here.
I think through my experience with the grant committee, like thinking of like the needs that have like really shown through those applications and possible ways that like the Buskirk Chumley as a space could assist in that. I mean, one that's come up obviously is like it being more of like an accessible venue for places. I mean, a lot of folks now opt for the library, churches, places like that, to the extent that it's possible, if that could become an accessible venue, but we've all said that piece. Another idea would be, you know, as a slightly less conventional idea would be to think of ways to maybe utilize like not just the house, but like the lobby and like wall spaces and other like smaller sort of like nooks and corners in there for local, either like emerging or established artists. I mean, there's such a demand for space to show things, and there's been a growing trend also for folks interested in potentially curating those spaces. And so having the BCT potentially as like a willing partner to hold some of those more like visual art pieces, and, you know, potentially with that, maybe, you know, that means being a part of Gallery Walk in some way, or just like being more connected to not just like the performing art scene, but like the visual art scene as well, is an idea. And then to the point that's been made about like, you know, the BCT being like plugged into what's going on in the community. And I think this, you know, this is just doubling down on that. And I think a big criticism of like the previous leadership at the Buskirk Chumley was that it seemed to be kind of like disconnected from what was going on. And I know that there were, you know, there's sort of a lack of awareness and I think a lack of engagement in like what all was going on in town. And so just like making sure that, you know, it's an expectation by the staff there and the leadership there to really be plugged in and being a, you know, not necessarily deferential, but like being like a good partner and collaborating and working with community groups.
Yeah, I mean, as a board member, I was frustrated, you know, with, you know, I've only been on it since January and it took me one meeting to get frustrated. So, when you say more engaged, you know, plugged into the community and things like that, you know, someone could go, you know, for everyone's background, I was chair of the Environmental Commission. Actually, this room's giving me PTSD a lot right now. But I was chair of the Environmental Commission and I was on the Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals. So like, you can just bury yourself with being involved, right? Way too much, because there's so much going on. But more specifically in the arts community, beyond the normal awesome festivals that we do have and events, do you have any suggestions? Is it having someone from staff as a representative at these meetings on a monthly basis, going to certain other, as like say 4th Street Festival, as that's starting to ramp up, would it be beneficial to have someone from there to be on there on like during the committee meetings to be able to see what BCT can provide from that perspective? I mean, Gallery Walk, it sounds like a great idea. We have the lobby area, right? And then even you could close off, not, you know, the theater part and have the whole lobby an extension and the upstairs, and you'd have a great amount of flow.
Right.
So that already, I was like, that's a no-brainer. Is there a way that you thought that maybe we could be more integrated? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is just like, you know, a lot of this is certainly context dependent on like, you know, what is the bandwidth of this person? What emergencies are they dealing with in the moment? What is their just sort of like natural like disposition and comfort level in being in spaces, and to what extent are they invited into spaces as well? But like, I think I'm coming at this as mostly just like making sure that they're aware. Like I think that would be priority number one. I think like, I mean, to get specific in things, like I know that like the previous director just like did not seem aware of like the comedy scene, or like the despite being like about having background in film, like didn't know what like different groups did in town film-wise, and like booked things that were kind of like traditionally like done by like IU Cinema or things like that, and that just kind of like really rubbed people the wrong way. And so just like having an awareness of like, okay, like these groups do these things, and like I'm gonna like find our role for this, or if I want to be a part of this, I'm gonna like not like take it from them, but like figure out a way that we could maybe work on this together. And then, I mean, but then I do think relationships are an important part of that. I mean, just to speak from my own experience, like going and planning Grand Falloon, like we make an effort to go to the Downtown Business Inc. meetings, and like not all the meetings, but like the ones like around the festival, and the Kirkwood Business Association meetings. Like we go there, we show up, we tell them what we're doing, we ask for feedback, and we go there, 2 or 3 times a month, and that like, at least in our experience, has like radically shifted the tone from like what we're told to expect from those businesses. We found that we have a tremendous relationship with all those people, and they like very willingly like let us into their space and are excited when like Grand Falloon goes down in Kirkwood, at least from what we hear, and I think. So yeah, I mean, I think relationships is like maintaining those is definitely a key part of that as well.
Okay.
I'd just like to say one thing. I think it's great to talk about new audiences and being more cognizant of the community. But I also would like to say that I think that the BCT has lost its way as to what it represented in the community for at least 5 or 6 of the 8 years that I've been here. It's a big venue. It's something that is in between the IU auditorium and the Waldron. It means it lends itself to a lot of things, and that if you look back and someone looks in terms of your archives, where did you pack the house? What kind of shows or what kind of concerts were successful? We've got the Brown County Music Center, frankly, is just doing a phenomenal job. And we don't have anything like most of their entertainment here in Bloomington. Even if you look at what's being done by the Brown County Playhouse, and some of their alternate things to their theater, are also things that we don't have here anymore in Bloomington. If you look at some of the people that, I mean, just offhand, I can remember packed houses for, Chris Christopherson, Graham Nash, Roseanne Cash, what's her name, Brianna Giddens. Those are just what comes to mind. And we don't seem to be having any of that anymore. And that's something that I thought was absolutely a phenomena for me, is that I could see people that I normally might not hear in my backyard, and and they seemed to, and it appealed. There was enormous diversity in the audience that went to those. So I just like to say, look at your history, look and remember, the things that the BCT did that were really integral and really important to the community that nobody else can do.
There's no arguing with that. We absolutely agree 100% that we lost our way. I think that inherently as well, there's some things different with Brown County. So they're actually tied in with Live Nation. So anytime that they have programming, it's because they're already within that larger network, and they've got a little bit different of promoters than we would have. So we have to scrap a little bit differently. So where we would have gotten them before, they have a different angle into Brown County now. Now, with that being said, we lost our way in terms of partnering better with IU, because IU turns away a lot of people, and we're missing out on bringing in some pretty talented people because IU can't manage that. It might be too small for the venue. Well, guess what? We're right here. We're a little bit bigger than everyone else, but still smaller than them. So point is, there's opportunities for growth. Actually, today with staff, I had a 2-hour strategic planning session with staff, and we actually discussed this very thing of looking at our archives and our records, what sold well to what audiences that want to come back, but they aren't coming back because we're not showing a lot of the things that had them coming in the first place. We want to do new, but we also want to, bring back the people that patroned us as well. So there's a lot of balls in the air, but we are taking all of those into consideration. Once again, this is a 3-year strategic plan. It's extremely aggressive, and the entire staff knows it's aggressive, but that's where we want to be. We want to be aggressive again and getting the shows, not only that, but also rentals and working with the community a lot more. So we have a lot on our plate, but we absolutely hear what you're saying. Not to say that you're the only one saying that, but at the same time, we respect that and we acknowledge that.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a big issue here in town, and that there are huge groups of people who both have always supported the BCT that are just very, very frustrated, and that you also might want to look at some of some of the other communities, and because Live Nation's not the only one out there, and there are a lot of other things that that places that you could partner with. I mean, and the theaters that are similar sizes in Indianapolis are doing a great job, and it's frustrating not to be able to be in your backyard anymore.
Yep, that's definitely something we're working on.
This is maybe a slightly different spin and very specific, but talking about other theaters and what they do. There's the Wexner Center for the Arts in Columbus, Ohio. One thing they do, I don't know if they still do it, but what they used to do in one of their larger theater spaces is they would actually turn their stage into basically like a shrunk down black box, like performance space. So they'd close the front curtain and use the stage for smaller shows, where an artist or a performer would set up either on one end of the stage, and you could kind of shrink the room for something a little bit smaller. Now, I don't know if that's technically possible. It's always something I wanted to ask.
Yeah, no, so BCT, and I don't want to take up too much of your guys' more time. I know there's a lot to get through, but BCT started out as a movie theater. It very much still is a movie theater that we're creatively making into a theater for multiple different kinds of performing arts, right? So when you see that first curtain, 10 feet behind that is a wall. So you don't have a lot of room to maneuver. And so, and we're also, we can't expand because there's an alleyway and then a parking lot, and then we've got establishments on both sides, right? So there's a lot that we have to be creative about in there. One of the things that we would have loved to do, so I love the Vogue up in Indy, right? It's a great venue. My time up there, I visited a lot. What they have the ability for, and that we got a lot of feedback for, was can we have a venue that has standing room only kind of, type of performances? Well, we can't because we have a slanted floor. And the amount of money it would take and then storage and every it just doesn't make sense. So we're trying to work within our confined constraints as a movie theater and slanted floor and not a lot of space. With that being said, we are trying to experiment more. So we're going to see what we can and can't do to get the new things in. But then also, like I said, look back see what historically was really good for us, A lot of times too, a lot of people forget that the larger acts, especially now, post-COVID, where people realize they're not making money with streaming and they have to tour, the guarantees are a lot higher. And so you really have to make sure that you sell out those shows in order to make any kind of of profit, operational profit. Now we are a nonprofit, right? But we still need to be able to operate.
Pay salaries.
Yeah.
I think it's an extraordinary venue because it's so intimate. It's large, but it's so intimate in a way that so many aren't. I mean, the Brown County is an incredible venue, but it's not intimate. You can't like relate to the audience in that way. It reminds me of a theater music hall in Tarrytown, New York, which is very similar structure, and the groups that come through there are more like, you know, 80s, 90s rock bands or something, right? Who are doing their, you know, final tours or whatnot. And they're jammed. And I think I've seen the few times I've gone down to French Lick, you see that kind of group go through there. So that's too far for people for Bloomington to go to. I wonder if there's some linking up with whoever tours down there. Might be Eddie Money was down there last time. It was a while ago. You know? But it's.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Suzanne, but I was going to suggest that because both the Tarrytown Music Hall and also the Peekskill, New York, are both comparable in size to the BCT and have, you know, I can give you a litany of the people that were there. Anyone from phenomenal opera singers all the way down to not Leonard Cohen, what's his name? Anyhow, I can't think of the name. Anyhow, and there are a lot of places across the country. I mean, maybe that's something that we could help you all with, you know, and looking at these and trying to emulate some other people who are successful in your lane.
Yeah, I think that BCT was very successful for a while because it was on the shoulders of Danielle a lot of the way. And then as anything, when you have a very, very talented, successful person leave, there's a vacuum. So now we're filling that vacuum, you know, that space, and really rebranding ourselves, who we are, what we're trying to do in this community, and move forward in a really great fashion that's going to benefit everyone.
So yeah, I'm gonna. Or did you have some comments?
Yeah, just quick. Yeah, I just also want to acknowledge theaters are still struggling around the country. COVID is still. I mean, we don't know anything. You know, I mean, there are still reports of major theaters in New York and Chicago slashing staff, slashing the number of productions. It's like real, and so you know, I think that's a real thing we can't discount. Like you know, as we're like, how do we come back, right? But I do want to applaud your work. I know you all are just doing really good, and we're always happy to be a resource for you. The one specific thing I'll plug, and our grants chair Elliot will love this, is you know, just thinking about when we review grants, one of the biggest budget lines I see is venue expenses. And one thing we've talked about in the past, and I have in the past talked with other folks at the BCT about this, is like an emerging artist grant. You know, like reducing the cost for folks who are earlier in the stage of their career, or you know, a group that's coming out of IU so they can access the theater. I know that might not be on the table for like, you know, the next year or two, but I do think thinking about, you know, one thing that really is important to the BAC is our emerging artist grant cycle. We launched it really officially for the first time last year. 70 people applied. I'm expecting 150 applications this time, you know. So just thinking about if you're looking for specific ways to align with us, that might be a way where I see that we could partner. And it's something I would love to do in the future, not just for the BCT as a venue, but for multiple venues. And, you know, you know, and again, in the past, like this, times have changed since I was having this conversation with the BCT, but thinking about using the BCT as the venue to pilot a kind of program for that could then be modeled for other places in town would be excellent.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay, I'll go ahead and put a bow on this discussion and say thank you for everyone for contributing your thoughts and your feedback. If anything more comes to mind, or you have any points that you you know, think of later, or maybe didn't get across quite how you wanted to, feel free to email those to me, and I'll make sure that they get to Nick and the strategic planning committee. And then also, I think to kind of like summarize and reiterate and to look at this question of like, you know, what is the BAC working on over the next 3 to 5 years? It sounds like our key priorities are going to be, you know, getting better and more resources in the hands of the artists here in the community. Like that, I think that's shown through that we really want the BCT to, you know, continue to be a community partner. You know, a sense the space being like vibrant and exciting for both like artists and audience members. And then also, you know, the sense of building community as well. And I think that is kind of coming through in a lot of ways in the work that like Chaz is doing with the artist parties and things like that. Like that's definitely like a key priority and kind of the kinds of work that I see the BAC doing over the next couple of years.
Well, again, thank you for all your time and your input. It really will get funneled through, so appreciate it.
Yeah, and we really appreciate you coming and talking to us, because we are, I don't want to say like perpetually, but oftentimes very frustrated that people come to us at the end of the process and just kind of ask us to rubber stamp what they have. So I know it means a lot to me and to this group that you're coming to us now and seeking this feedback and then going back to the committee to actually consider it. So, so yeah.
Take care.
Awesome,
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, perfect. Yeah, so thanks again all for your feedback there. Moving on to the subcommittee updates. Natalie Almanza, please give us the public art scoop.
Yeah, can do. Well, we had a ribbon cutting on Friday last week. That was really exciting for the Rogers Family Farm. That John Rasick piece is up. I believe it's called Fleeting, and it is really beautiful and so exciting to see it up and in that communal space. There's a really good turnout for the ribbon cutting. I know there's a lot of you all there, so thanks for coming out to that too. Yeah, it was great. And we had a wonderful performance by Polly and Flow Motion, so that was really nice. I know that the subcommittee is hoping to plan some other activation part probably in the fall. That's kind of related to that piece and just kind of providing the community another opportunity to see it and to experience it in that way. So the subcommittee is going to talk about that, and we'll more on that soon. Next up, I've got a
comment on that.
Yeah, of course.
I think whoever selected Flow Motion, and obviously we have a connection to it. John Rasick's piece is a response, more or less, or one response is to wind flowing through what used to grow very tall or grows very tall through that space. And Flow Motion is, I think, just a very beautiful counterpoint to that art piece and the spirit of the movement and the air and the nature that's there. I hope in the future we can continue that sort of exciting pairing.
Yes, totally. Yeah, that was a great. I think Holly and Polly kind of talked about that early on when we found out that was a piece. So yeah, I would love to continue that too, and the thread of any other openings that we have, trying to figure out how to incorporate other artists in that way. But I agree, it was a really great addition to that opening. Thanks, Rob. So another update is we have selected an artist for the National Science Foundation mural. Well, it was a partnership between us and the folks over there. Sarah specifically, I'm blanking on her last name, but the subcommittee reviewed the call for artists and submissions that we got, and we selected together with Sarah, Erin Toby, or strongly recommended Erin Toby, and she accepted, and that mural will be going up over by Wonder Lab. Holly, you might have the exact name of the location. I always forget that street that it's on, but it is like kind of behind / next to Wonder Lab.
Yeah, so it's the alley that is directly west of Wonder Lab. So it's the wall that's on the east side of Kirkwood Apartments. And it's really great because you can see it as you're walking on the Beeline, really in either direction. It will be visible. There's another parking lot right in front of it, but it's a ground lot, so you can see it. It's really great. And Wonder Lab is very happy that it's there. They're gonna see this as an opportunity to do some educational activities. That was one of the expectations for this project, that the artist that we chose would work with Sarah to kind of come up with a series of materials and activities that people could do focused on the mural to learn more about the science behind nanotechnology. So Erin Toby is actually going to be meeting with a cohort of scientists that Sarah is bringing in to come up with those activities. And the hope is when we do the dedication ceremony for this in October, that we'll be able to do some of those activities. But Natalie, back to you.
No worries. Thank you. Yeah, and I added to the BAC upcoming events both the in-progress event that's going to be happening with Erin and Sarah's team on October 7th. And then I've also added in the celebration that's planned for October 21st. That should be the mural unveiling. So yeah, that's in the.
There it is.
Oh yeah,
We're
there
gonna
it
power
is.
wash it.
Yeah.
For the record.
And I was at the like Wonder Lab park the other day, or their little like garden. You can kind of catch a glimpse from there too. So it's really visible. And it's a really wonderful mural. Very excited to be working with Erin on that. So
Yeah, she's really into it too. I had a phone call with her and Sarah, and they just geeked out on science, and I was
love
like,
to hear it.
yes,
Yeah.
take it away. So it's a great
great.
partnership.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Great partnership. So yeah, that'll be awesome. And I'll update as those things kind of start to unfold, or when I have more details on the events. Sarah and her team are kind of taking the lead now on planning a lot of those, but our input will be there, and we'll probably be able to squeeze in some of our thoughts and stuff with that too. But yeah, so those dates are on the upcoming events if anyone else wants to join at those. The next update that I have is, Holly kind of touched on this, but yeah, the public art master plan, putting the finishing details on it, on the design work. So it's over with Bryony. And yeah, we'll be presenting it as part of that September 13th thing at the council, and opening up to those micro grants. So that'll be a really great way to kind of activate that. If you know anyone who's interested in getting public art in their neighborhood, in their space, please feel free to send that over to them. And I think that application will open.
I'm gonna slate it just to open the day after.
Yeah, right? Okay.
Or maybe even like at 6:30 p.m.
That's right.
Of the meeting.
Mhm.
So it's just there immediately.
So right after that meeting, it'll be available. Yeah, and then the last thing to update is we are working on some Duke substation murals. Christina has actually been speaking with some constituents over there in that neighborhood and talking to them about what kind of themes they want to see in the murals. We're going to be opening a call soon and hoping to review those in early September. So yeah, a lot of art in the works. Thanks for all your work on that, Christina, too. That's I think that's all for us. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Sweet.
Any final thoughts or questions?
Question, I might have just missed this, but what ended up happening with the bicycle garage mural?
Oh, yeah. What is did we have a final update that we can share with that?
We are no longer working on that project.
Final update on that. Sweet. Yeah, that's okay.
All right, grants.
Tomorrow, Thursday, a weekday, God knows how we swung it, but we'll be reviewing 23 operations grants starting at noon in room 234, the Booker conference room upstairs. I've never been upstairs, so I'm excited just for that. I think everyone's gotten their lunch orders to me already. If you haven't, please do. And please finish reviewing your grants if you haven't already. I haven't finished, so I'll be doing that later this evening too. So I think that should be all for now. Yeah, don't want to take up too much of your time since I'll be taking up 4 hours of it tomorrow.
Emerging artists.
Elliot,
Yes?
will we be able to get out to be on Wi-Fi tomorrow so we could look at our the
Wi-Fi?
grants and the sheets and everything while we're discussing them?
I believe there's
Yeah.
Wi-Fi upstairs here as well. Yeah?
Yeah, it was like, I guess.
Yes, there is.
Yeah,
So
they'll be in
we'll have a passport or whatever we need to do to get on it.
Yeah.
Just a public.
Yeah,
It's the
It's
city.
public.
Yeah.
I don't even
Yeah.
think there's a password. I think
Yeah.
it's
you
public.
can just log on.
John Hamilton forever. Yeah, no, so please, it would, but to your point, it would help to bring your laptop device, whatever you use, portable device. It will help to have that with you so that we can use that to access the portal and your notes, which are in the portal. Yeah.
Emerging Artist opens on August 21st.
Oh my. Okay, August 21st, the next one.
Art
So
doesn't sleep.
yeah, yeah, we'll see if we have any money left over for that. Yeah, so thank you everyone so far for what you've done for grants this year. It's been awesome.
It's a pretty cool committee.
Yeah.
You get to go upstairs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I wasn't
Yeah.
sure we were going to be able to do that, but we did it.
I will be bringing Cheez-Its
Yeah,
tomorrow.
well, I mean, I was just assuming.
Yeah, these are unbudgeted Cheez-Its. The city is not paying for these. I've been told that I need to BYO Cheez-Its, so don't worry.
Like that's yeah. She's an influencer.
Yeah, alcoholic. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
very true.
exactly.
We need this in our bylaws. So we're gonna have to.
All right, thanks. Yeah, that's all. Thank you. Unless anyone's got questions.
Okay, excellent. Okay, from your chair. So real quick before we dig into the city stuff, I'll just say to the group, thanks all for making time for meeting with me for one-on-ones. I think I've been able to meet with most of the people here. I know that I was trying to condense it all into a really short period of time. I think there's a few of you that I still need to have a check-in with, and we'll find time to do that in the next in the next couple of weeks. But thanks everyone for giving your time and your feedback. And I think I've said this at all the one-on-ones, but on the whole, like just to make it not to be awkward or too mushy or whatever, but everyone seems to like everyone. So everyone can feel good about being here. That has just been like a common thread that's like really come through in all the one-on-ones, that there's a good balance in the group where we're happy to be here. We feel like our time is being respected and everything. So
Gerard, when you've had a chance to talk with everybody, will you share with us some of the themes or ideas that came forward?
yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
I'd be interested
Yeah.
in what everybody thought.
Yep, for sure. I'd be happy to do it. I can, I'll make a note of that. Maybe in October, because I have a feeling that next month is going to focus a lot on the presentation and like the public art master plan and some of those things. But I'll be sure, or I can just probably email them even. Okay, so speaking of the presentation, Jazz, do you by chance have access to Holly, did you want to show that presentation planning doc, or do you just want to read it out?
We can show it.
Show it? Okay.
I can show you where it is on the show drive.
Okay. I can sort of give a little like general preface. Sorry to put you on the spot there. But so the like rough framework that Holly and I are going to present is is this sort of mostly looking at like the past like year or two and thinking of like there was the pandemic, and I think our last presentation was like 2 years ago, so still kind of like in like the throes of the pandemic, like 2001. And so really kind of like, keeping that in mind and like as context, but then also like really sort of like highlighting the incredible growth that we've had over the last couple of years. Thank you. And of course, opening up with like, gratitude to the council for keeping grant funding open, for supporting the arts. And then we're gonna open up with like a why we exist, and this is less like, at least I interpret this as less of like what we do, like the sort of like we act like, because that's all language that can be found online, and we can give a little bit of time to that, but I think what we mostly want to focus on is like big picture stats on like it's like why funding the arts is beneficial for cities, specifically cities like Bloomington, highlighting like arts as a fundamental part of Bloomington's economic and recreational landscape, and sort of like leaning into survey data that shows, you know, a strong majority of the public here really values the arts and culture scene, and that there is a demand that is like large and growing, both for the artists who like live and work here to be able to live and work here, but also for, you know, audiences and, you know, just the general populace to sort of like enjoy those arts and cultural experiences. And with that, you know, that ideally would come with, you know, more funding for the arts, and then also really thinking about like the spaces and investment in buildings here. So that will be sort of like our kickoff, and then we'll, you know, look at what we've done. So like we'll have like a nice highlight reel with photos and sort of like key bullet points, like highlighting the public artwork, the grant work, and other things that the commission has done. And then we'll hit on like specific sort of focus on the work of the grant subcommittee, and like promise the presentation won't like look this like bullet pointed and wordy. This was just sort of me like my meetings. Yeah.
We're like, we need your money so we can actually have visual arts.
There we go.
But I mean, especially like having worked primarily in grants over the last year and a half here, like I've been really like forward with the growth even in that small period of time. But I like spent some time over the last week or so looking back through like some of the minutes of like previous commissions, just to get a sense of like what their numbers were and like how things were looking. One note, the minutes from like 2017 and 2018 were really funny. I don't know who did the notes, but like
I noticed that too. It was somebody was
They had a
really
real-
creatively
a real good sense of humor.
Yeah.
But like there was a note in there that's saying like, oh, we got like 30 grants I said cycle, but I think they might have just had one cycle even back then. And it was like, this is like, we're gonna bring this to the council and like advocate for more money because we got 30. It's like, we got like 70 more. So like I mean, there is like, you know, like obviously this has been interrupted by COVID and things like that, but we've really done tremendous work over the last couple of years to like grow the visibility of the resources that we have here and getting people to apply.
There's
and,
got to
like,
be a bar chart or a graph or something to make that real visual.
Yep. Yeah. So that's like the plan is to like make these numbers look a lot prettier than they do now. And then but like kind of glossing through that a little bit, you know, the story here is that there are a lot of artists in Bloomington who want to do public facing work and who need public support to do it. And that like, you know, there are a lot of projects that are the projects are also engaging groups and audiences within Bloomington and adding to the arts and arts adjacent economies in the city. Like so many of the grants that we get, like they want to work in public spaces and they want to do things that are going to get people out, get them going to like to restaurants, to venues, and really just like engaging with the city like in a much broader sense than like just sort of like, you know, it's not just A to B, like, you know, home to gallery or home to theater or home to park. There's a lot more going on here, and it's really important for the city. And then Holly's going to talk about public art.
Yes. But I think, you know, we're saying, okay, we need to get resources to artists to make art. We need to get that art to the people. So, you know, and then we'll talk about public art, why it's important. We will talk about the release of the public art master plan. We will highlight a couple of recently completed and soon to be completed large scale and smaller scale arts projects. So we'll talk about some of the 1% of the arts installations, including the 4th Street Garage, Aurora Almanac, and then we'll also talk about Goat Farm. I will probably talk about the NSF mural as well. And then I will probably spend a little time talking too about how we want these like public art initiatives going forward to also be able to be commissions that are given to local artists. So we are funding them that way as well.
I have a little suggestion on what I'm being, of course, this all needs to be fleshed out. But, you know, Bloomington has some very successful, well-known artists. And that this commission is working at being a bridge to enable or to help assist emerging artists to taste those waters, right? To help fund their expression. And then if their expression becomes successful, then they too will join this pantheon of wonderful artists that we have. I sometimes get the feeling that artists are poor, and not all artists are poor. And I think if we can also show the successful ones, that there's a pathway to enabling these others. You know?
Hell yeah. Oh, I had a thought. I'm like, I think maybe it would be good to like express some sort of like, I mean, I think the council would like this, is what I mean, is like just the fact that we are like increasing civic engagement sort of with our work, and like that's sort of like we're kind of putting our money where our mouth is, or about just like what our values are like as a city, as well, just on the flip side of that, but also just like, I think that more people like applying for grants and just like trying to like get involved with our commission is just like, I think that can sort of like roll into like, I mean, like different forms of civic engagement beyond that, and just like sort of like getting better feedback from the community about just like the government or whatever. I don't know exactly what I'm saying, but you kind of it could go, it could help, I guess, with our. But I mean, it seems like the numbers support that, so I think it's worth noting. Like,
I agree with Nia very much. Is there a way to quantify the examples of diversity that for example, as one aspect, right? Because that's such a focus of the grant discussions. But is there a way to look at what range of artists, what range of kinds of performances or art itself, everything from race and creed to genre to right?
That data definitely exists, like in Holly's documents that we kept.
We can work with Polly.
Another bar
to
chart.
crush it. One of my specific goals for grants was to raise the percentage of a more diverse, like artists of color applying for these grants. So I have those statistics just because I have to document them. So
and like, are we contacting, like, I know this is like soon, so it's like, I don't know how possible this is, but are we able to like get updates from all the people we got grants to this year and last year, like about their projects? Like, I think that would really go a long way. Like having like, I can help you with that, by the way. Like if you need people to just like write emails and stuff, because I've always thought that would be a really good way to like,
I'm delinquent on having a new grant report draft. That's what I want.
Well, it could just be like pictures though. It's like what I sent, I remember, because I thought like when we were doing like the grant like party thing like last year, was that last year? That was last year.
Oh yeah,
with the karaoke.
That was fun.
And I submitted, I gave Polly like 1 million pictures from like the grant that I had gotten, and I didn't realize it was just like a small PowerPoint thing, and so I was like, oh well, I did. But like, I feel like a lot of, I think I might have sent it to you. It was like no, I didn't send it to you. Oh, I did. It was in my application email thing.
Oh,
but
okay, so we can. I can pull that up.
Yeah, I'll just send it to you again, so you don't have to go digging.
Yeah, cool. Thanks.
But we could get those from everyone, is what I'm trying to say. It's like at least like a little slideshow.
Well, two things. First of all, if we haven't made a presentation in over 2 years, in terms of public art, you could add in the projects that have been completed in the past 2 years, which would include the Trades Garage and the 4th Street.
Right.
So I think it's really important to add in these bigger projects as well. And also in terms of the grants, it's not just the emerging artists, but it's also the operations and to, which reads like a catalog of every organization that participates in the fabric of Bloomington arts. So I think it's important to have, to make sure that we show the spread of what we do and the balance that it goes from, bigger organizations to, macro to micro, so to speak.
Yeah, but also there's the diversity of kinds of organizations we had. I'm just consistently blown away by not only the variety, but the quality. It's not like we have some really great things and then a whole lot of crappy things. We have, there's it's hard to find fault in a lot of these organizations.
Yeah.
And remember, as an arts organization, the diversity that we're also responsible for is that of all different kinds of music, all different kinds of theater, writers, the written word, etc. So, it means many things.
I don't know if this is too far off center, but we have growing apartment jungles that are not contributing to Bloomington's, at least the character that Bloomington had, maybe the character which Bloomington would like to continue to express as culturally and art-centric. And all the more reason to get some public art expression into some of these places that are cookie cuttered from anywhere around the world, right? This is an apartment that exists on the East Coast, the West Coast, the Middle Coast, in this economic zone. And
so many walls.
Yeah.
That's right. Natalie, get this.
Yeah. But in the public art master plan grants would also be, the idea is like that also might be something that businesses take advantage of, because that's also something that's highlighted in that report. But
okay, wonderful. Well, yeah, we wanted to present for like the outline of where we're going for. Well, we are going to be working on a slideshow and a script of sorts over the coming weeks, and we'll likely give sort of like probably a mock presentation of sorts at the next meeting. But we'll have some updates and things to share in the run up, like in that midway point email. I'm sure that we'll be asking for more feedback on. But thank you all for your thoughtful.
Just one more interruption.
Yeah, let's hear it.
The Public Art Committee has now set up a folder where we could look at things.
Yeah.
Is there a folder where whatever photographs exist or videos exist of things that are being supported by the commission exist for us to be able to look at?
Well, we'd have to make that.
Sort of.
There's kind of one they're trying to do through all recent stuff since me and Holly have been here. But as for like historically, well, we were talking about having someone do public art at least. Garrett. We could.
so yes, we could. We are working on creating this folder. I think I think different renditions of that have existed over the years, and they're kind of
Okay.
here.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get them into one central place that won't be dispersed if I were to leave this position and all of my files had to be zipped into one big file with no organization and given to my successor. So we're building on that, and like Chaz said, one thing we're trying to do in the meantime is like go out and photograph some things, so we have some really awesome photos. But I think it makes sense. We can definitely
Well,
share
I
with you what
personally,
we
I would like
have.
to have access to where these things are,
Yeah.
other than the ones on my normal routes.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Holly, I still have a lot of it.
Okay.
What photos?
Okay.
No place to put it.
Okay. Well, Babette, are they I mean, how can I be helpful in getting those documents from your laptop to my laptop?
I can start emailing you if you'd like.
If I created a Google shared folder, could you just drop them in the folder?
I think think so.
Okay, I'm gonna do that right now.
Great.
As for
Some,
that,
I mean, a lot, there's also a lot of stuff that I have that is not, that I have links to, or that I have other copies to.
Okay, and if it's okay, let's work through this offline, if that's okay. But
Yeah.
thank you, those would be great to have.
I just wanted to say for the photos, we'll work on getting together a more cohesive folder for photos for you all to see of like events in public art, because that's what we do. So I put a note.
And quick question back to the presentation. The council presentation is at a meeting directly after our September meeting,
Yes.
correct?
Mm-hmm.
Would it be possible to share the agenda of the council meeting
Oh, yeah.
in advance so that everyone can take a look at that and
They-
figure out if it's reasonable to like stick around and join the council meeting and support?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
have
sure.
to give it to them ahead of time, so it need to be.
But we're also, so there are two different types of like presentations to council. There's like a resolution presentation or like a budget presentation where you're really in like the meat of the, and you just don't know where the heck you're actually gonna be. Are you gonna present at 6:20? Are you gonna present at 9:30? This presentation will happen at the very beginning of the meeting. Basically, they'll do like their first round of general commission announcements that have nothing to do with the agenda on it, and then we will be the first person to talk before they get into any debate over anything. But we'll still share it with you. But we will also only have 20 minutes. So we're definitely gonna keep it short and sweet and give them time to ask
Yeah,
questions.
because I think that includes questions,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Exactly.
And
So we're
then-
just gonna try to respect their time and do as much as we can in that short period of time.
20 minutes, 150 images.
Yeah.
Bam, bam.
Yeah.
Pictures
Yes.
out.
Yeah.
All right, gonna move through the upcoming events and important dates. Gonna look through this quickly. Big thanks to whoever cleaned up this doc. It's looking real good. I see the first thing, the Roses Midwest Art
Yeah,
Gallery.
it's. I have not heard from those people. I'm
is that still-
assuming
oh.
it's not gonna happen just because it's been so long. Because that was supposed to happen what, like March, and the kids just never got. It was like student led completely, and they just never got it together. So
Okay. Well, yeah,
because of school and
right.
whatnot, I'm guessing. But maybe when the school year starts again, they'll try and start it up again. But I'm not really in contact with them right now. So you could probably take it down, but I don't know. Yeah.
Did some of these just get added because
Okay, it's not
Yeah,
my
I
problem
added, I added them. I added mine.
Because
Christine
I just,
today.
like, when I went in and looked at it, there was only one thing, which was Nia's that was postponed. And so I just want to make sure I'm seeing the right document because I'm never sure. It's
I added
kind of
the black and
confusing to me.
brown stuff, and I think
Okay.
Natalie
Yeah,
did
that's
it
all.
today.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're not going crazy.
Yeah, so I'll just pay special attention to, I'd say, the stuff before the next meeting, which is the First Thursday Festival, the Blackie Brown Arts Festival, on the various dates there. Actually, yeah, I think that's and Gallery Walk as well, which is like September 1st, that first day, first Friday of September.
And definitely come to the September 8th Blackie Brown exhibition that Christina is curating, and it was all because of her, and it's going to be amazing, and we're going to be showing local artists, and that's again at the 4th Street Garage Storefront, probably the last time we can use it because there'll be people in there starting probably in October. So anyway, your fellow Commissioner Christina claps for her.
I also forgot to put this in there. This isn't really BAC, but I'm going to plug it anyway because I need an audience for this. If you have nothing to do at Friday at 3 p.m. and want to come to the Wonder Lab Garden. There's a group of Bloomington South High School students who are all leaving for college next week, so we have to do this quick. They created this paint that is heat reflective. And so they knew about this technology. They made a version of this paint themselves, and then they wrote the mural and were like, where can we put this mural? So I worked with my colleagues that are in my office that focus on sustainability, and they helped me determine what areas in town actually need this kind of heat cooling paint that the students have created. And we realized one of those places is Wonder Lab. So we got in touch with Wonder Lab, and they let us put this mural with this cooling paint on the shed in their garden. So this Friday at 3 p.m. we're going to do a super duper brief ribbon cutting ceremony for it. There will be no performance. There will also not be 10 speeches. There will only be 3, maybe 4. But they'll be really quick. You'll be in and out in 30 minutes. But if anybody's looking for something to do on Friday afternoon, it should be fun, and it's a really exciting project, and it was really exciting for me because the sustainability director and I have been looking for a way to collaborate, and this is the way we finally were able to do something together. So really looking forward to more collaborations like that in the future.
All right, I think we can go ahead and transition into commissioner announcements with that. Anyone have anything they want to announce or talk about or share? The group?
Everyone enjoying the
I just
dog
work
days
so
of
much in
summer.
August. Yeah, like
Yeah.
We're all there.
Cool.
It's my wedding anniversary today.
Congratulations.
And you're still here.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to
Yay.
Yeah, I'll just announce as a quick reminder that after this meeting, we're heading over to Social Cantina, so please join us. Cool, and the final point in the agenda is public comment, and I see that we have a member of the public here and online as well. Any comments or?
Yeah, I'm just in awe of the many things that you do and how well planned, how well conceived, how well managed. This is an extraordinary group of people and I think serving the community very well.
Thank you.
Sweet. We did it.
For the record, could you just say your name again?
Yeah.
For the
Paul Anderson.
Okay, cool, just for the.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks for being here too.
Yeah, nobody
That's
comes
cute.
to our meeting.
And thanks, is that Chris?
You're killing it on that.
Yeah.
I've been watching.
Yeah, I think they're not on here
Hingle,
anymore.
was she?
She was, I don't think, some people left.
Okay,
So I don't think
can we board them?
I'm gonna stop sharing.
Okay.
Let's see.
Okay.
Yep, that's it.
Okay. Well, what a delightful public comment to end the meeting on. So I gotta do my fancy language here thing.
Oh.
I think, right? Sorry, I have to. All right, I motion to adjourn the meeting. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second. All right, this meeting is adjourned. Thanks, y'all.